The meeting will come to order, and Deputy City Clerk Bridget Birchwhite will now call the roll.
Councilmember Gruber. Councilmember Lightfoot. Councilmember Lupien. Councilmember Martin. Here. Councilmember Monroe.
Here.
Councilmember Patterson. Here. Councilmember Smith. Here. Vice President Harris is excused, and President Melendez.
Here. I do want to acknowledge that Councilmember Lupien will be joining us shortly. She is a few minutes behind tonight. So New York State law requires that City Council hold public hearings as it considers specific legislative actions. The clerk will open each public hearing, and anyone wishing to comment on the relevant matter may come to the podium at that time. After public hearings conclude, Speak to Council will begin. Speak to Council is a time for members of the public to comment on any and all matters relating to the city. Sign-ups for this session closed at 4:30 p.m. this afternoon. The list of speakers can be found at the back of the room and in the hallway. Speakers discussing legislation on this month's City Council agenda are placed on the A list. Speakers commenting on all other matters are placed on the B list. Under City Council's rules, the Deputy City Clerk will call city residents first, since this is the Rochester City Council, and we prioritize our citizens speaking to their elected officials. As a reminder, the Council is here to listen to all matters, and it is customary that we do not respond. Now let's begin this month's public hearings. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes at the podium, and the Deputy Clerk will lead us through each hearing. Deputy Clerk.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: amending the zoning map by changing the zoning classification of 1369 East Avenue, introductory number 390. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard. Yes, and could you please turn the mic on?
Should be a green button or button there.
And
Yes.
there's a green light?
Yep.
Dr. Lisa Barr, I live in the 19th Ward. Council rules give people 3 minutes comment on agenda items like this zoning change. Before I do so, I've covered city and county and state government since 1977, taught hundreds of journalism students to do the same since 1988 in places like Kalamazoo, Duluth, Houston, New Orleans, Gainesville, Florida for my master's, Bowling Green, Ohio, Chicago, Illinois for my PhD in mass media law and other places. I consider this latest group of Rochester City Council members the most committed and reputable of anywhere I've lived. Thank you for your service. You deserve to be treated nicely. About this change, I don't object to it. I can't, because I don't see enough information online about it. I looked. I think I know what to look for. This process of obtaining public opinion on such matters, it's unlike what I was trained on in Kalamazoo, Michigan as a cub reporter, for instance, where the mayor, the city attorney was present, and at the very meeting where action would be taken or tabled, the public could comment, and so would the mayor and city attorney and council in real time. This agenda item, for instance, one of the parties regarding one properties mentions one person's name and other unnamed members of an LLC. It's not your fault that Governor Kathy Hochul tacked her amendment to block unmasking of all parties behind an LLC for another year and a half. So there's no reason Rochester should block action on the properties within the city absent the creation of a database of who owns what and which properties are vacant within Rochester. To my knowledge, council has not authorized that or asked the mayor's office to do that. Remember, it was not a journalist, but a writer of a letter to the editor who showed Rochester's 19th Ward has been abused by out-of-city and out-of-state investors buying up residential properties with minimal repairs, flipping them and raising the cost of housing for buyers and renters, and it's a national problem. So this specific property sale, I don't know that's going to happen here. I cannot and do not object to the sale because I don't have any information. This agenda item shows, I believe, very good reason to clean up the process of legislation that comes before you in the name of the public who elected you. I just don't see how you could stop these sales even if you wanted to, and I'm not suggesting you do that. All summer I stewed about a couple of you going on a local talk show saying you wish more people would comment on agenda items instead of resorting to speak to council. This very agenda item is precisely why people don't show up to speak to agenda items. Not enough information. I wish the city attorney could answer some questions about all this. The latest one, and he's praised so highly by the mayor on a local talk show, I question whether he has government in the sunshine as a guiding principle, not just on this agenda item, but on other items that are concerned the public's right to know and government in the sunshine. and I'll address that further in my Speak to Council remarks, and thank you for your service.
Good evening, Council. I'm Jonathan Maurer. I live at 100 Douglas Road, around the corner from the said property. I apologize I'm late. I was assisting police. A woman was mugged literally in front of my house. Again, I want to reiterate, mugged right in front of Douglas Road at about 5:30 broad daylight. I am very much opposed to the change in zoning on this particular property. This property, as far as I know, was never put on a residential market. It was on a commercial market. It was originally a residential home at one point in time, then became a house of faith, and then was put on the commercial market as if it was just, you know, essentially said to fate that it was going to become some sort of commercial property. I think given the nature of that particular block and neighborhood, which is the Douglas, East Boulevard, and Hawthorne neighborhood, that the proposed changes are completely inappropriate for the neighborhood. And in addition, I think given that we are in a preservation district, the suggestion of chopping a historical house up into 7 very small apartments is not in keeping with the preservation of that particular area. So I would strongly encourage you all to vote no on this particular rezoning. I don't think it's appropriate for the neighborhood. I don't think it is in the spirit of preservation, and I think it will ultimately have a detrimental effect on the City of Rochester and our tax revenues. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. With no further speakers, that hearing is now adjourned.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: authorizing a change in traffic flow on Federal Street, introductory number 399. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
Seeing no speakers, that hearing is now adjourned. So we will now begin our Speak to Council session. All speakers will be given 2 minutes at the podium. We respectfully ask that each speaker offer council and all council members the same respect they would expect to receive in return. In doing so, please refrain from profanity and other harmful language. Council members have the contact information for all of tonight's speakers and may follow up on any concerns that pique their interest. Deputy City Clerk Birch White will call each speaker to the podium. We ask that you respect the time of those waiting behind you and yield the podium at the end of your allotted 2 minutes. Deputy Clerk.
Mary Gaston from the Northeast District. Mary Gaston. Elizabeth McGriff from the East District.
Hello, City Council. We have a lot of evictions happening in our community, and Good Cause Eviction Protection will stop that. We are asking President Melendez to amend Good Cause and bring it out of committee and City Council to vote it through on the amended version that protects more tenants. That's my request. We just need people, we need you to do basically to protect the people. There's 127,000 people that would benefit from Good Cause Eviction Protection. Just in the since June, since it was introduced, 211 people have been evicted. These are the keys of the individuals I want to give to you, Miguel, because you're responsible for this. You could have changed this for 211 people's lives so they can remain in the community and not be pushed out. It's in your rule to do this. You can make it happen for people in this community. It shouldn't have to wait till November. It shouldn't have to wait till December. It should happen in October. Housing is a human right. People shouldn't be put on the street. Winter is just around the corner. Families are in the process of going through evictions, and they have no other place to go. You can stop this. You can change this. I know you said you were doing your due diligence. You've done enough. You need to move forward. That's it.
Kevin McBride. Kevin McBride is from the East District and will be followed by Shirley Thompson.
We have a problem at Pinnacle Apartments where crime on the property cannot be stopped unless police issue appearance tickets for loitering and disordered conduct. For a long time now, lawyers hang out on the public sidewalk as shown in the picture of my written presentation. They make fun of people that walk on the public sidewalk, and sometimes the end result is a fight, sometimes involving weapons up to and including guns. This is why you do not pass good cause eviction laws. Criminals will take advantage of not only good cause eviction laws, but also a police force that doesn't want to be aggressive enough to charge people or fights unless someone gets killed. If you choose to pass good cause eviction laws, you must also have police file more charges than what happens now, so criminals know the good cause eviction laws are not going to protect criminals. And the failure for the police to serve me as a result of me having trauma as a result of professional attendance when I lived on 170 Fulton Ave before I ended up at Pinnacle. As is obvious, I'm now in the advocacy stage of the trauma, and I'll do my best to stop and roll back good cause eviction laws. I yield the floor.
Shirley Thompson. Christina Chrisman. Christina Chrisman is from the Northeast District and will be followed by Samantha Dinga.
Hi, I'm Christina Chrisman, President of the Federation of Social Workers. I am a city resident. I currently rent a house in the 14621 area code. Thankfully, I have a great landlord. He's only raised my rent once in the last 12 years, but I know I'm very lucky in that aspect. The Federation of Social Workers is a labor union representing workers who work for the most vulnerable and disadvantaged in our community, many of those who are in critical and emergency situations. Our membership voted to endorse the Good Cause Eviction campaign organized by the Rochester Tenants Union. I'm here on my members' behalf to ask the council to pass introductory item 201 to adopt the Good Cause Eviction law, with the added amendments to match those that were already passed in the city of Albany. Our members see the devastation evictions have on families and just how easy it can cause families to fall into systems and cycles of poverty that are nearly impossible to climb out of. Rochester still has some of the highest percentages of childhood poverty, not only in our state, but in the entire country. Evictions only exacerbate this issue, and this legislation provides a simple, common-sense solution that prevents more children from becoming a statistic. Please don't wait until November. Please pass it as soon as possible.
Samantha Dinga.
Hi, my name is Samantha Dinga. It has been over 1 year of constant bombing and besieging the people of Palestine, and it hasn't stopped there. Israel has invaded 5 other countries in the past year, and we continue to send billions to their military. It's critical that we address our part in this and divest in the Israeli military. Children are being burned alive, and just because it's not happening outside your door doesn't mean we should fund the oppressors. But there are unfortunately also things happening that are right outside our door that we continue to sit by and allow. We need rent stabilization, a good cause eviction protections, and a public utility. I'm not sure if there's children here today, but we all know that there have been children here coming here for months, pleading with you to not allow them to get kicked out of their homes. So I'm not going to even look and see if they're here today, because we all know they exist. The children come here after a long day at school to plead with you to allow them to have a home. In 2023, 244 children living in Rochester were documented as unhoused. With just some very quick math, if we assume those numbers track for this year, or worse, go up by 37% again like they did last year, that's 20 children per month experiencing homelessness. So June, when y'all pushed the vote, that's 20 more homeless children. July, 20 homeless children. August, 20 more unhoused children. September, 20 unhoused children. October, this month, which you have refused to vote on, the good cause eviction protections, 20 unhoused children. President Miguel Melendez, you need to know that because of you, there are, within the past 5 months, 100 children without homes. So these keys are your reminder that those children don't get to go home because we're not protecting them. We have the power to close the LLC loophole. There's no reason not to.
Carrie Cleveland. Is Carrie Cleveland here? Marilyn Cunningham. Marilyn Cunningham. Joseph Maxim. Joseph Maxim is from the Northeast District and will be followed by Mrs. Morales.
Hello, President of Evictions and City Council. There are 211 warrants for eviction since July. Miguel Melendez, I'm here to demand that you pass good cause eviction in its strongest form. I'm ready to show up at every event and ribbon cutting you're at and call you out. I'm tired of the excuses, and you're worried about Airbnbs? Step up and do your job. And Michael Patterson, you know, your district is all right, but yet my neighbor has a hole in their house, and there's still 7 outstanding violations on my property? Where's enhanced code enforcement at? Where's the Housing Quality Task Force? Step up and do your job.
Mrs. Morales, are you here? Mrs. Morales? Okay. Mrs. Morales lives in the Northeast District.
Just a note, all items can be shared with the central staff in the front. Thank you.
Good evening. Some people, it's not a good evening.
Excuse me, Mrs. Morales, can you?
Here and you listen. There you go. Okay. You sit down here and you listen. But what are you doing when you get through listening? I can't see. People that are disabled, people who have cancer, people who have children that have autism and stuff, y'all not being put out. Every time you raise the rent, everything else goes with it. So if they can afford affordable rent, you raise everything else where they can't afford it, then you raise the rent again. And you're putting people in shoe boxes. You're not giving them enough room. There's people that's being evicted with children. How do you want Rochester to look with people all over your streets and stuff? And you build up underneath the bridges where they can't sleep underneath there. So where are they going to come to? Y'all neighborhoods? That's why you don't want to give your addresses out? But you have all of our addresses. You need to look and see what these people are saying to you. I'm not up here just to be heard. I don't want to say, can you hire me now? I want y'all to look at what I'm saying, hear what I'm saying, and do something about it. I need rent stabilization. I need the good eviction cause to be in effect. Help these people. We done been in our homes for ages. I lived on Clarissa. I've seen what y'all did through there with redlining. I've lived in some of these places. Like I said before, I've been with some of your parents. I done sat out and drank with you, partied with you, so I know what you're about. You got a little office, a little clout now, and you want to act like, you know, you better. That seat's coming up soon for voting. So do what you're supposed to do.
Jay Coffey. Is Jay Coffey here? Niam Gribbins from the South District.
President Melendez and City Council, this is not the first time I have spoken here. I have told you about the illegal shutoffs my landlord has perpetrated on my neighbors. I have told you about my fights with my landlord to fix my shower and other problems. I have shown you the cup I have showered with for 6 months now. At the end of September, my landlord finally agreed to have a plumber come out. I waited that whole day for them, only to instead receive a 30-day notice of no-fault eviction. That notice specifically states on the second page that the only justification for the eviction is that Rochester has not passed good cause eviction. This eviction is retaliatory for knowing my rights and protecting the people in my building. If good cause is eviction because the city has not passed good cause.
Liesl Coleman? Are you Liesl? Is that Liesl Coleman? Go.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Liesl Coleman. I'm here again. I'm speaking on good cause eviction protections. I want to echo what other folks have said in terms of the due diligence that this piece of legislation has received, as opposed to the bills that happen every single month for developers that are passed with no consideration, right? So we're just moving forward, passing these different bills like it's rote mechanic, but anytime there's something for the working class, anytime there's something for the people, that's when we need to take all the way back from 2022, 2019, when this was first fought for on the state level, to make sure that we're doing our due diligence for people. People are getting put on the street every day. This year, we are going to have more evictions than Rochester has ever seen since we started counting how many evictions are happening in the city of Rochester. We are at the point where people do not have lawyers. Keisha Ward, who called out to you to come to her press conference, she is not going to have a lawyer representing her in this situation because there are not enough lawyers in the city covering people. And we need good cause eviction protections to make that so people don't even have to end up in eviction court. I know that this is something that people want to make sure that they're not having any unintended consequences. But the unintended consequences of no action is more death, more people on our streets, and more families who are not going to be in their homes for the holidays. I stood with people in 2020 and got arrested on December 18th, 2020 for a mom that got put out 5 days before Christmas because we did not have good cause eviction protections. That was years ago. We are still fighting for this, and we are still fighting for the fact that we shouldn't be put out of our homes with no reason. Please, you can move this out of committee this month. You can pass this in October, and you can prevent people like Neve, Ember, and Yadira from going to court for not having a good reason to evict them. You can prevent this, and it is within your control. Please, please pass this month.
Is it working? Is it working? Okay. Esther Rivkin. It's Esther Rivkin here. LaWanda Shipman. LaWanda Shipman is from the South District.
Good evening. I am LaWanda Shipman. I'm the Vice President of the Federation of Social Workers and a city resident. I want to start off by thanking you for introducing the good cause eviction legislation, but I implore you to pass it as soon as possible with increased protections for the residents of our community. In our line of work, we review landlord statements, rental agreements, and we have witnessed firsthand how the average rent amounts in our city have skyrocketed over the past few years, making the basic needs for housing completely unaffordable for many renters. Rental amounts have more than doubled for the same units in some instances, while we all know the income has not grown at the same rates, nor have the properties been kept up to par. Part of our job is to help with emergencies people may have, and evictions are one of the emergencies that many of my clients have experienced. And while I know the good cause would not prevent evictions due to non-payment of rent, I want to bring one aspect of this to your attention. When evaluating whether the agency our members work for can pay rent to prevent eviction, we have to determine if the rent is affordable, according to the agency standards. For example, for a family of three, the most a basic grant will cover for their housing needs is $786. So that means if someone comes in with a landlord statement for rent of $875, we cannot approve back rent to be issued for their evictions. Also, if the property has violations, we cannot approve an eviction. Once evicted, families cannot afford security deposits for new housing. We have had to increasingly deny more back rent payments because there are no more affordable places to rent here in our community. That means more families and children are on the streets every day. We needed this legislation to have been passed years ago to stop the inflation of rent, but it's not too late. You can pass it now to prevent more evictions. Thank you.
Dr. Lisa Barr. Dr. Lisa Barr. Dr. Lisa Barr is from the South District.
Before we move forward, I just want to make sure that I highlight what we said in the very beginning, which is that I want to make sure that we are respecting these chambers and respecting the council. So please refrain from the chanting and allow people to speak. Thank you.
Cultivation analysis theory: the more local news you watch, the more fearful you are of local crime, regardless of statistics. 50-plus years of good mass media research. Dr. Mickey Edwards at the University of Florida taught grad-level theory. After a bad test, told us, "I love you all. You need to do better." I'm addressing you in that spirit because I wanted to move here, retire, and did because of the things Mayor Lovely Warren, an attorney, said about proper police practice. We need national expensive police reform to bring people with law degree backgrounds into day-to-day operation of police departments. It will cost more money, not less, to clean things up. But then we won't see Rochester police cadets at summer festivals who don't know who was Frank Serpico. Imagine. Meantime, please restore full funding to the PAB with their remaining subpoena power, and despite their shameful lack of a union, they produce good data, deserve unanimous council support. Yet Rochester's city attorney threatened them? That letter sounded like a mafia consigliere, not an attorney. Rochester's prior council, a former president of the New York State Bar Association, not a left-wing group, folks, argued for government in the sunshine. It's why I moved here. Please also demand resumption of publicized police abuse settlements. Rochester City Council and the public also deserve a seat at the table of future union negotiations like Syracuse, Buffalo, Austin, Texas do. Scary? Well, the feds had to send Rochester's police chief to prison for creating crime here. More crime, more overtime, more pensions. Cynical police pension padding. But don't let their quest for the PPPs cloud your judgment, and please don't listen to anyone trying to get you to denounce council members who advocate for government in the sunshine. We had many successful public events here this summer. And last, once we got the DA to properly charge people and the county probation department to do their jobs, we didn't see so many reckless high-speed chases through our lovely city. I love you all. You need to do better. Go tell the county we need more funding because we do need that protection that everybody else has been talking about, fair eviction laws. Thank you.
Diane Stengel. Diane Stengel is from the East District and will be followed by Bonnie Canaan.
We overwhelmingly voted for a strong, effective, independent PAB, yet you keep hobbling the PAB with delays and lack of PAB charter mandates enforcement. Subpoenas and foils should not be necessary for PAB to get the information they need to do their job. RPD still has not provided the PAB with direct access to all the information the city charter specifies in Section 18.3H. RPD personnel files, IA Pro and all other RPD databases, PSS investigative files, criminal and civil case files, disciplinary hearing records, video and audio recordings from body cams and other sources, all RPD policies, procedures and practices, the general manual, etc. The RPD chief should be held to following PAB discipline recommendations. RPD repeatedly asked the public for help in investigating crimes, but RPD interference with the PAB investigations reinforces the impression that RPD can't be trusted. If you really want the public trust and confidence in RPD, you should immediately give PAB direct access to the information needed, and RPD chief should follow PAB discipline recommendations. It's unfair to expect RPD to be able to handle the wide variety of calls for service they do now. The vast majority of calls for service can be met more appropriately and affordably by other agencies. These calls are either administrative reporting and involve social issues. None require an officer with a gun. Traffic enforcement should be managed by the Department of Transportation. Warrants, property crimes, and accident reports can be handled by city employees. Family conflicts, juvenile incidents, and people in mental crises are best handled by the trained experts on the PIC team. The PIC team process in Rochester is not effective because all 911 calls engage the police, who only call the PIC team at their discretion. Only the PIC team should be engaged directly by 911 for all social issues. PIC can call in the police if ever needed. We need to set up emergency handoff from the PIC team.
Your time is up, ma'am.
To fully funded basic resources needed to stabilize each person.
Your time is up.
And enable them to build a safe and healthy life. Nobody's safe until
Bonnie
we're all safe.
Canaan.
That's good cause eviction.
Bonnie Canaan. Mallory Szymanski from the South District.
So I've read some of those police accountability reports, and I trust that you have too. And I wasn't surprised by what I saw in there, because I've been listening to my community, and they've been telling us that the police are doing harm, and they've been recording it, and now those reports just make that information more accessible to us and also highlight the horrific and yet all too common things that our community members are experiencing at the hands of the police. So I won't go into the detail and recount the anecdotes, but the trends are really important to highlight. The trends I noticed in the police accountability reports are that the police not only are doing harm, but they're covering it up. They're falsifying their reports. They're turning off their body cams. They don't intervene when they see their colleagues doing something wrong. It's hard for me to talk about. I can't imagine what it's like for my neighbors who experience this. Moreover, the evidence that's out there is not shared with the PAB when it's requested. It's not shared with the community when it's requested. There are so many barriers in place to getting access to the information that we all deserve to have by law. So we need the city council. I know all of you agree that we need to reduce police misconduct, that we need to reduce police violence. So what we need from you is to support the PAB, support the community loudly, vocally, visibly every time. Get that information out there, because we all want to solve these problems. We need the evidence, we need to be united about this, and we need to support up the PAB to restore its disciplinary powers, to bring its teeth back. Because we can say all day, wow, police violence is really bad, and they shouldn't be doing this misconduct, shame on them. But nobody's held accountable because the PAB can't do anything about it, and then the chief just says, okay, and doesn't take the recommendation. So allow the PAB to unionize, support the PAB. Thank you.
Jay Coffey. Asa Adams.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and to the council people that be. I'm sick and tired of coming here, and I keep saying the same message. But this is your problem. This house is on fire. You guys are about to make me become a fireman and point my hose in the right direction to put this fire out. Are you in business to create homelessness? Because apparently you are. You're not stopping 90% of the problems here. My neighbor next door to me, her rent up $1,000. But good thing I know law now. I put the landlord in check. You guys got to get your law office straight when it comes to eviction, because you could stop it. Rent control, you can do it. It's on your books. Use it. Or do I have to run for mayor and do the right thing for the city? Because sooner or later, I'm going to chop every last one of y'all's legs out from under you. This is my last warning. The Northeast is in hell right now. I'm surprised. You went down Bay Street the other day. You didn't see me. But just after you turned the corner, did you see the shooting? You had to witness the man that went down the street with the gun, because they described your car and you turning the corner on Bay and Goodman. So we have major problems, and they know it. It's time to actually do what is right. Because the longer you allow your elected officials to do what you can do yourselves, the problem will get solved. They don't have the power that you have, but your job is to force them to do what they must do. Because their only problem is they're scared to do it, but they need your backing. Give these people the help, and you people get off your butts and do the same thing too for your own community.
Your time is up, sir.
Because like I said, if I have to start cutting legs out from under people, I will.
William J. Ferguson, II.
Good evening. President Melendez and City Council members, first, let me thank you for your time and attention to listen to the concerns of the citizens of Rochester. A rock and a hard place, I understand. We're all in a rock and a hard place. My name is William J. Ferguson II. I'm the Vice President of the Joseph Avenue Arts and Cultural Alliance. Our goal is to contribute humbly and heartfully to building a regenerative future for Joseph Avenue, the city of Rochester, and the county of Monroe. We have an opportunity to do something truly transformative at the site of the former B'nai Israel Synagogue. We have dutifully followed an exacting sequence of steps, which include appearing tonight for a city council decision to approve an option to purchase city-owned land on Loomis Street for the purpose of necessary parking to accommodate a 330-seat performance and education center. This is imperative to complete the site plan and architect drawings, which will then go to appropriate individuals for review and permit approval, as well as to the waiting lenders for construction loan signatures. After this, I had planned for much more time. And I know that this issue is at your forefront, and you understand the necessity of the transformation and arts building that provides arts and culture for the citizens of Rochester, especially the citizens of Joseph Avenue, so that they can go and see Wynton Marsalis perform at no cost to them and walk out of their house to get to do it. What we're designing not only is a place for that to happen, but a way for the unhoused and everybody else who can't afford to walk to the Eastman Theater and go from where their world is now to a world that they're not familiar with. They can leave their home.
Your time is up,
our
sir.
space. Thank you. They can come to our space and have a release from their lives in a way that can help them.
Sir,
and
your time is up, sir.
Okay. I want more time. I'll be back.
Oscar Brewer from the town of Gates.
Wow, you said no chance, and President of Evictions. Great to see you another month. Give yourself a hand. 211 warrants of eviction filed this year. Give yourself a hand, sir. And yet we're still begging you to pass the strongest version of good cause eviction protection. Why? Make it make sense. Your child sleeps comfortably, right? I'm hitting you hard tonight, sir. You're up for re-election next year, correct? 5 of you in this chamber are up for re-election next year. 2, right now, I give my alliance to them. We know who those 2 are. And we know who's not on the good list next year, correct? How do you feel letting children get evicted? When was the last time you went down Clinton? When was the last time you was on Hudson Avenue, sir? I saw a child sleeping with her mom in a tent, dude. Get real, Mike. Council member of evictions. Give yourself a hand. I'm calling y'all out tonight, bro. 200 warrant of evictions. Wow. Is that what you tell your constituents when you... Hi, my name is Miguel Melendez. My name is Michael Patterson. My name is so-and-so. I'm running for city council. Please vote for me this year. Is that what you ask your constituents? Is it? Because see this crowd behind me? I told you, Mike, I'm talking to your constituents more than you are, sir. And thank you for not responding to my emails. We've invited you for a candidate walk. Where is our response, sir? My comrade, Joseph Maxim, started the email. Your constituent, you've yet to respond. I'm watching the time, too. But you've heard your people. They want good cause, right? So here we go, folks. What do you want?
Travis Kovitz. Is Travis Kovitz here?
All right.
Is Travis Kovitz here? Thank you. From the town of Arundequit.
Yes, I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the Rochester chapter of Jewish Voice for Peace. We believe peace comes from justice. And that is why we need to keep the PAB. We need to make it as strong as their charter is mandated. We need to support them in the recommendations. We need to support them in enforcing the recommendations they have made in their 31 reports they have released. And we need to stop spending money on union-busting law firms that prevent the PAB from being as effective as it needs to be. And we also need the strongest version of good cause eviction. Without good cause eviction, we have no cause eviction. We have displacement of people. We have disruption of community. You know, I've said it before at previous city council meetings, but you know, this disruption of community, you know, how am I supposed to grow up respecting my community and my neighborhood if I know I can be forced out at any time with no recourse? We need the strongest version of good cause eviction. We have over 200 families who have been evicted because this legislation has not been passed. And imagine once this legislation is passed, because it will be passed, the people who live in Rochester who know that their city council members passed this bill, they're going to want you to stay. When we're voting, we're going to remember which council members wanted good cause eviction and who was dragging their feet. So if you stand for good cause eviction, that'll get you votes.
Scott Winkler. Scott Winkler. Scott Winkler's from the Northeast District.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for having me here today. I want to specifically thank Mr. Mendez and Mr. Patterson for coming to the community meeting at our church. It was an eye-opener. I'm here today to represent Heart and Soul Community Church and the problems we're having at the church, which actually extend into the community. We have a needle problem there. We're picking up needles almost every day at the church now. We have prostitution going on in the back of the church property. We have drug dealing going on in the back of church property and other illicit activities. We don't get any help with that. Nobody's got our back. We're on our own. I take care of security along with a person named Coach Leverett Copeland, and we take care of the security there, and it's not an easy job. These things go on a daily basis. Sundays, we have a lot of problems that we deal with in the parking lot, and we've called 911. The response is very slow, if we get a response at all, and we're just asking for help on that. We've asked for grants to get fencing, and we've seen roadblocks on that. But I'd like to take the rest of this few seconds that I have to challenge this whole council, that if you believe in what you talked about at the last meeting that we had, And if you actually want to see a change happen, you all know my phone number. You can get in touch with me. Let's sit down, let's have a conversation where we can have a longer conversation about the problems that we have at the church. And then maybe when we deal with the church problems, we'll always also be dealing with all the community problems that we have around there. Okay? So that's my challenge to you. And hopefully I'll hear from you, because if you accept the challenge, that means you're doing your job. And if you're not, then that means you just don't want to deal with it. But I do thank everybody for their time, and God bless you all.
Kenneth Lee. Kenneth Lee is from the Northeast District.
Good evening. This is my first time here, but I've been complaining I live on North Clinton. I've been living there 20 years. I moved here from Paterson, New Jersey, and the last 3 years have been the worst. When it's drugs, needles, prostitution. I have a building that's next to my house that's a gambling spot that I've been complaining about. I did have the building shut down twice because of the activities that was going there. But I'm just like, I'm getting fed up. I'm not good with disrespect. You know what I mean? And what I'm asking for is some help. I don't have no children. All my kids is grown. You know what I mean? So it's not, where I live is, I protect other people's children. And then I do empathize with them people, the drug addicts, because I'm a recovering addict. I got 17 years clean by choice. You know what I mean? And it wasn't, I didn't get a handout. I had to make my mind up to do something different. And when you keep feeding people something where they don't have to go do anything, they're going to stay stuck. You know what I mean? So what I'm asking is we need to address the drug problems. We shouldn't allow people to come in our community that don't live there and be able to stay. And anything that's not conducive to the area shouldn't be there. Like they got a garden on Remington. Who would eat out of there? You know what I mean? My concern is the garden was built and all it is drugs. And it got to be addressed, because at some point you get tired, and I'm tired. Thanks for hearing me.
Gildred Aponte. Gildred Aponte is from the Northeast District.
Hello, everyone. I'm a longtime resident in the Northeast area, especially on Clinton. There's definitely a lot of homeless people there that definitely doesn't live in the area. They just need to go. I feel like they're being enabled. They're not trying to get the services that they need, and I feel that they need to go back where they came from. Thank you.
Maria Aponte.
Hello. So, I don't reside in the Northeast, but my grandmother's house is in the Northeast, and my mother now lives in my grandmother's house. So I've been around that area all my life. And I can honestly say there's a big difference from me growing up to my kids growing up, to the point where it's not safe for my kids to go outside at my grandmother's house. As I used to ride the bike down the street and playing with my friends from down the street, I cannot allow my children to be raised the same way. As you come outside, you can see cars parked as in heroin addicts ODing. As you can see people just lying down on the sidewalk with ripped clothes and dirty nails and dirty hair, to drug dealers at the corner where you don't even want to turn on the corner, and it's the one way that you have to. But they're blocking the street and they look like zombies. That they're sitting there dancing and out of their mind, that they don't even realize that you're behind them in the car. And at the same time, you don't know if there's going to be a shootout the next minute. It's ridiculous to me. And it shouldn't be that much of a difference between them. They do need to go somewhere. They do need to go back home. They don't belong over there. I never seen them a day in my life until the drugs started coming around. So as soon as we get rid of the drug dealers, we can get rid of the heroin addicts.
Anastasia Majors.
Hello. Speaking from experience, being scared to take out the trash when it's dark and being afraid to walk to the corner store in broad daylight aren't feelings that should be facilitated or normalized in our communities. This drug epidemic is tearing our communities apart, making them unsuitable for children. But I also want to recognize that as a community, we shouldn't dehumanize these people, but feel empathy for them and recognize their struggle. We need to have a situational approach rather than dispositional, acknowledging the environment that facilitated this drug abuse, acknowledging these people coming outside of our communities and bringing their drugs and clientele with them. Thank you.
Augustin Rodriguez.
Hello, everyone. I've spent a good over a decade now in North Clinton, attending my church as a member, as a leader there. I also work for Ibero-American Action League, where I represent a lot of the business micro-investments that we conduct in the corridor, as well as the work that we do in the International Plaza. Our efforts are to try to anchor the corridor through the power of entrepreneurship. And we believe that we can meet economic, social, and environmental needs that way. However, just this morning, as I'm putting Clorox on the floor to try to get rid of blood stains and pick up 6 needles just so that I can open my vendor's business, completely demoralizes our efforts. And I need to take a pregnant pause on that, because that is our daily reality. This isn't about sour investments. This is about the fact that the drug trade that is happening in North Clinton completely stumps any opportunity for revitalization. And if I, who continue to go to my church to worship the living God, who continue to go to my work to try to do my utmost best to be the hand and feet for his good work, cannot still see the fruit of that labor, it begs the question, are we dealing with the drug trade harsh enough? Are we actually listening to the voices of the residents, business owners, and customers of the North Clinton corridor? Because so far what I see is Park Ave residents being listened to, South Ave residents being listened to, but our corridor is not. So with all respect that I have for y'all, please consider ways that we can partner and deal with the massive issues we're dealing in our corridor. Thank you so much for your time.
Maggie Kane from the East District.
Yep, I'm here for Voices of Verona Street. I know many of you have seen the video that was taken by the former vet tech at RAS showing animals living in horrible conditions. That is that is not a criticism of the staff or the volunteers. It is a criticism, though, of this body and of the mayor. I know the new director of RAS said that it was just a snapshot, a moment in time. If this was a moment in time, I wouldn't be standing here for the 3rd year in a row every month talking about how horrible it is at the shelter for the animals, the staff, and the volunteers. If this was a moment in time, I wouldn't have met with Shirley Green at least 4 times, met with Sarah Fletcher at least 2 times. I wouldn't have met with Miguel. I would have met with Lachey. These are not moments in time. This is what is happening at our shelter. If it was a moment in time, I wouldn't have contacted Senator Cooney's office, who I spoke with the other day. I wouldn't have talked to Rachel Barnhart. I wouldn't have contacted Harry Bronson's office. What I'm finding interesting, though, the moment in time was 8 months ago, when there actually was a standing PO for kennel and laundry cleaning that has been on the books that no one enacted. So for the last 8 months, those kennels and the laundry have not been cleaned properly, and not due to the staff or the volunteers. But you know who never checked on that PO? That would be Shirley Green, whose moment in time should be gone as the director of... Yes. So I would like to invite all of you to our protest Tuesday outside City Hall at 5 to 7. Be a voice for the voiceless.
Rufus Jones. Is Rufus Jones here? Tiara Grayson. Terrence Schnurr.
Before I go to my planned remarks, let me again reiterate my belief that so-called good cause eviction is misguided, counterproductive, and likely unconstitutional. I've sadly never had the opportunity to visit Würzburg, where my great-grandfather Martin Schnurr was born and spent his youth before moving to Albany and later Rochester in the late 19th century. Would whoever's talking please shut up?
Can we pause for a moment? I want to make sure we give this gentleman his time back. All right, I'd like to make sure that we give some additional time. Joe, if we can add more time to this.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I said, I have sadly never visited Würzburg, where my great-grandfather was born, but I have had the privilege to visit two of Rochester's sister cities. In May of 1990, during a 13-day drive around the homeland of most of my ancestors, I spent a pleasant morning in Waterford. And in May of 2001, I had the great honor of visiting Velikin Novgorod. It is a magnificent and beautiful city with wonderful, warm, and welcoming people. It's a connection that we should celebrate. However, as we all know, the would-be Tsar in Moscow has spent his 25-year reign disrespecting the sovereignty of his neighbors. And in 2022, his long-standing interference in the second largest country in Europe turned into an irredentist war of conquest. The worst war that Europe has seen in the lifetime of, I believe, everyone in this room. Flying the flag of his regime on city property indicates at best indifference to that regime's imperialistic aggression, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. That regime's flag must be taken down from City City's bridge and remain down as long as a single member of its military remains unwelcome within the internationally recognized boundaries of Ukraine, Moldova, or Georgia. Thank you and have a good night.
Shelley Cheeks. Shelley Cheeks here. David Sell. David Sell. Are you Shelley Cheeks? Okay.
Well, I'm here to. Is that on?
You bring the microphone down a little bit. If we could start the time over, sorry.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'm here to speak about the anticipated new animal shelter. I'm old enough to remember the days when the poor animals were put in decompression chamber altogether, cats and dogs and kittens and puppies, and they did away with them that way. And people fought to have them put down more humanely. And I know this for a fact because I work with a guy, his wife worked at the pound for 2 days, lost her mind, and he had to take her out of there. I met a guy at the park. He said he worked for the pound for a long time, like in the last few years, and we were talking about it. He said, well, I quit. The last day I had to put 60 dogs down. One of them was really a good dog, and I really tried to save him, but the director said, put him down. What we need to do is to start teaching people that no loyalty for your animal. You don't belong as an animal guardian. You don't, when you get a puppy, it's a 14, 15-year commitment. And also, you got to crack down on these people that breed puppies for money. I had, I think that's the root problem, is that I know I had a girlfriend that had 2 pit bulls. She was going to breed them because the neighbors wanted a puppy. Well, by the time I got done with her, she went and got them fixed. Because we got to educate people. You keep having these animals reproduce. There's just so much people can do. 60 dogs in one day. I don't think people know the realities of overpopulation of animals. And myself, I take 3 dogs. I'm a sucker. Got a sob story? Give me your animal. But it does get expensive for the food and the shots. And the veterinarians, it's another problem. Okay.
David Sell.
Good evening. I'm speaking on behalf of my neighbor who, along with me, supports Voiceless of Verona Street. She states, for the vast majority of pet owners, our animal companions are literally our children, but for too many, they are disposable. They are discarded, left to the street, left to starve, left to fend for themselves, or worse, killed as baits in dog fights or in accidents, all because Rochester Animal Services can't help them, because they haven't had the room, the staff, or safe haven for them. RAS and city officials are failing in their basic mission and responsibility to help these poor souls. This must change. It is past time for the council, the mayor, the city to do something besides ignore the truth of the conditions and the crisis we are in. People have choices. Animals don't. Animals give nothing but unconditional love. The least we can do is care for them properly, to give them a safe place to rest their head, to get medical care when they need it, and to support the staff and volunteers that give with every beat of their hearts. Changes needed for our shelter are long overdue. Recognition of the shortcomings in treatment for those who have no voice is long overdue. I challenge the council to go to RAS and see firsthand the deplorable conditions. I challenge you to spend a day at the shelter to see the work of the tireless employees and volunteers trying to do work every day. Look into the eyes of these discarded souls. See the fear and the broken spirits. See the filth. See the crowding and under-equipped facilities. It's a desperate environment. My heart hurts for those animals. It aches for the staff and volunteers who selfishly give each animal kindness and comfort for the time they are there. People make choices. Animals can't. Look into their eyes and tell me how you sleep at night. We are in a crisis. If you don't see it and keep ignoring it, shame on you. Thank you.
Michael Lohr.
Sir, if you could, this is Speak to Council. We'd appreciate if you speak to us. Thank you.
Well, I've been speaking for nearly 4 years on the same topic. My name is Michael Lohr, representing Voiceless of Verona Street. I'd like to share a photo with the gallery tonight. If you wouldn't mind passing that around, take a look. See what you think. That photo was taken but just a few weeks ago on October 1st inside our city shelter. Now, some city officials would have you believe this was a snapshot of one incident. I can tell you it's not true. It's an accurate depiction of the daily conditions of these animals. Please, pass the picture around. As you see the photo, just see what it makes you feel. Recently, we learned of a very similar situation in Buffalo's city animal shelter. They are also suffering from little funding and not enough staff. But, get this, in one day, a Buffalo City Council member took a tour of their animal shelter and witnessed the same horrible conditions. And the next day, that council member from Buffalo submitted to City Council a resolution for immediate improvements. I've been up here for 3.5 years. Nothing's happened.
Here's what gets me fired up. I've been coming here all this time, and it took a Buffalo City Council member 1 day to address their issues. In fact, here's a quote from that person. "I'm going to take responsibility to make sure something happens here," adding, "I believe this has been overlooked for way too long." That photo is proof. Now, City Council, is it really asking too much? You know me. You know my cause. I've been coming to you for almost 4 years. We've met personally. We're contacting everybody we know. Social media is blowing up with this video. You cannot stop it. It is a freight train. It's going to culminate next Tuesday with a peaceful protest, 5 to 7. See you next Tuesday.
Lorraine Parr. Lorraine Parr will be followed by Beth Jorgensen.
Good evening, everybody. We're here again as usual. We're talking about the new animal shelter, and we're talking about homelessness, and it goes hand in hand. But, nothing's ever being done about anything. I think your roadblock is probably the mayor. He seems to have other interests. He seems like he's got there's something going on with this animal shelter. Where's the money going? I demand an audit. Maybe we should call the IRS or something, because there's something fishy going on. There's something. I don't know what, but you know that dogs are being dumped. There's all these people being dumped down the street, but nothing's being done. Nothing's being done, but you can change it. You can make a law saying, hey, you cannot buy a house. First-time residents, first-time buyers should have the first bid. They should be buying it. These people should not be allowed into our city or our county. County residence requirement now. And I want to address everybody. We have bail reform laws, correct? New York State bail reform is causing all this crime, okay? Right? Why are you voting for the same people that are making these laws? You have a man back here, Marcus Williams. You need to send him to the New York State Assembly so he can get rid of the bail reform laws, so we can get rid of the crime, so we can get rid of all this craziness that's going on in Albany, because they're not going to do anything. You got to get up to the state level. We got to start there. We have to do something now because nothing's happening here. So let's get up to the state and let's start doing some changes. And you have to get some different people in there. Quit putting the same people in. That's what you're doing. Do you know they're going to take your gas stoves in 2030? Do you know that? You don't have a right. What do you call that? You know what we call that? That's communism. Communism. Taking our right away. Goodbye.
Beth Jorgensen.
I'm here to speak also about Rochester Animal Services, where I have volunteered since 2019. I want to address the video that's been mentioned before that has recently spread across social media, as well as long-standing deficiencies at the shelter. I mean to make clear exactly where the fault lies for these conditions. The video shows the kennels in the room called Bite Room in a deplorable state on the morning of September 30th. In a corner of Bite Room, there are also piles of dirty blankets. The video implies that this is an everyday, all-day situation. And while overall maintenance of the shelter does fall short of what is needed, I believe the video exaggerates the problem. However, it also makes the important point that chronic staffing shortages are to blame for any delays in cleaning kennels. My own experience gives me a somewhat different perspective from what we've been hearing and what I say might not be popular. First, kennels are cleaned well on a daily basis and sometimes twice a day or more. But animals, especially puppies, often pee and poop at random times. Second, the months-long laundry problem is very real and has not been taken care of in a consistent manner despite promises made by our commissioner. Third, and most importantly, staff and volunteers work extremely hard to care for the animals and keep the shelter clean. Neither we nor the newly hired shelter director can be faulted for the conditions documented in the video. City leadership, including City Council, are solely at fault for deficiencies at RAS, and only you can fix them by allocating the needed funds to run the shelter properly. Decades of neglect, inadequate staffing, a substandard building, and no full-time shelter vet create unhealthy, unsafe conditions. RAS must become a much higher priority for the city. Thank you.
Paul Watkins.
I'm a volunteer at the shelter, one of many who put in hundreds of hours of our time each week and thousands of hours each year. We are all dedicated to ensuring all the dogs, cats, and other animals have a clean, safe place to live. I clean the dog kennels as part of my volunteer activities and have been doing so for the last 2 years. I saw the videos. I know some of you have. I think President Melendez, you even went down to the shelter after the video. And I can tell you that it looks bad, but at the same time, I have cleaned that room, and that could have been cleaned within an hour. The problem is there's not enough staff there to do it. And so what has to happen is that more staff and more money have to be found. So we as volunteers, we spend thousands of hours of our time to make sure the animals are well taken care of. It is time for the city and the management to do their part in making sure this happens. Now, the shelter has a new director, of which I'm sure you're all aware, and while the city's first response to complaints is to refer them to her, this council has the power of the purse. You set the budget, you decide who gets the money. You should use that power to ensure that the staff has adequate funds to take care of the animals and make sure that they're in a clean, safe environment. In closing, yes, the video was disturbing. It can be changed, it can be fixed. I've done it, and all it takes is staffing to do it. Thank you.
Clayton Lyons.
Good evening, Council. Briefly, let me say I am in support of good cause eviction. I am in support of actual police accountability. I am in support of better animal services. Now, I'm here today to talk about the Rochester Peace Collective, or RPC. I work for a grassroots community agency called Untrapped Ministries. Last year, Untrapped Ministries was awarded $175,000 as part of the RPC. Of those funds, $120,000 went back into the community. This went to paying participants who were affected by violence. This went to food, warm clothing, license fees, transportation, baby supplies, emergency storage after an illegal eviction. Sounds familiar. This went to hosting a dozen certified training opportunities to help people in Rochester's most impoverished zip codes go from working dead-end jobs to career-based employment. Now, we hold community building circles to allow healing. We hold resource presentations to connect community members to services. Hundreds of individuals receive these supports. All of this is proactive violence reduction work that we were able to accomplish because of the RPC. That's a good thing. Originally, we applied for multi-year funding. We were denied. This year, we applied for comparable funding. As last year, we were cut down to $40,000, a roughly 75% reduction. And due to our status of having a fiduciary, we were told we are not eligible for a cash advance. Note, a fiduciary's job is to hold funds, not front it. Now, this all runs counter to Mayor Evans' own words. In 2022, in a press conference, he said, and I quote, "I want the RPC to function much like a community trust. We know there are organizations operating with shoestring budgets, and we want to help you. Cutting our funding does not help us. Cutting our funding does not promote peace. I understand that ARPA funding that began this program is limited. That is why we need you to dedicate your money to this work and not rely solely on federal grants, right? You have to put the money into the work and fund it for real. I invite any of you to come join us and see what the work is that we do so you can see for yourselves the effect it has. We have folks tonight with us who have gone through our programming and who are better off for it. So please consider funding this work, not just from federal grants. Thank you.
Marcus C. Williams.
Hello? Okay. Let me see. I can't see what I'm reading. All right. Hello, everybody. My name's Marcus C. Williams. I'm here. I generally come and I talk on the crime, I talk on the drugs, I talk on the issues that are facing us every single day. While I, unlike many people here, realize that there's not a ton that you guys can do about the laws and stuff, I have requested many times that you continually advocate for the amendments to the laws that are allowing criminals to run wild, and the refusal of the state to put in harsher sentences on people driving these drugs into our community, trafficking these drugs into our community that are causing so much excess homelessness, that are causing so much prostitution. I've never seen so many prostitutes. In my neighborhood in the Southwest, it looks like it's Las Vegas outside or something. It's crazy. There are homeless people sleeping outside in positions that I don't even know how their bodies got into. Like, this is way different than crack and all of that, heroin and all of that. This is something else. I don't know what it is, but it needs to be addressed. But in order to get it addressed, we need to advocate on the state level, from you guys to the state level, publicly. Because that's the thing. They need to be shamed, and they're not feeling any type of shame, so they come here in our face and tell us that crime is down. But if you live in my neighborhood, it don't look like crime is down. You might say that shootings are down. Home invasions are up. You got armed robbery, carjackings, people getting shot in their car in their driveway, and the other guy got his car jacked in his driveway, and that was like 2 weeks ago. So what is being done here? We need the advocacy from this body to the state assembly, okay? And also, anybody that's listening to me talk right now, I do civics education once a month. I'm not doing it now because of the election, but check me out. Check out my website, my Facebook, Marcus C. Williams, because a lot of you guys, we got to understand the right level of government to talk to for a lot of the issues here, including some of the homelessness stuff. It's not city council, it's the state assembly. All right, y'all guys be blessed and be well.
Justin Morris.
I'll just be here once. I'm not going to continue to ask you all to do what's right. As Clayton has so diligently worked on our behalf as it relates to Untrapped Ministries, to get the status that we have to this point, it's a smack in the face to have a department in the city who displays such a gross level of incompetence. The Department of Recreation, the Department of Violence Services through the City of Rochester has been assigned to be over this RPC money, and I'm calling gross negligence. I'm calling intentional disruption of programmatic activities for organizations that are grassroots, and this is being done on purpose. There are a plethora of different things that, I can talk about on tonight. I just want to shine light on it. When you all get the list of the organizations that are going to be getting this funding, this particular funding round is $790,000. It is almost elementary irresponsible in how we're getting ready to piss this money away. If you remember when we were young and we would go to the bathroom in elementary school, we would pull our pants all the way down to our ankles and just piss everywhere. And that's what's getting ready to happen to these funds. When you all look at the list of organizations and you see who actually does violence reduction work in this community, and who's getting the money to do violence reduction work in this community, it's a stark reality. And also, cutting funding to these organizations, and the organizations are still the ones supporting these families who are experiencing violence in this community. This family directly behind me, this is the family of Taisha Manning from the mass shooting in Maplewood Park. Her picture is featured here. They are here to call for justice tonight for the murder of Taisha Manning in Maplewood Park, and also the gross bullying that is happening out of this department in the City of Rochester, who has handled this family in a manner in which no family should be handled. There needs to be extreme, swift intervention and accountability for the individuals who are acting in this department. I'm getting ready to get out of here. I'm getting ready to get right on out of here. I don't believe in anybody losing their opportunity to feed and provide for their family, but I think that Shirley Green is extremely incompetent in her role in this office and needs to be held accountable.
Right. Your time is up,
That's
sir.
my piece. God bless you all.
Your
Thank
time
you
is
for your
up.
time.
Thank you. Mickey Prespiora. Mickey Prespiora.
Justice for Ty.
I need more than 2 minutes for the amount of problems in this city. Happy Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Today is Purple Thursday. I'm wearing purple. Could I have my time back, please?
We're gonna pause
Thank
it.
you.
If we can give the time back, and please, everyone in the room, allow the speaker to present.
I agree with y'all. I need more time. We should have more than 2 minutes because there's too many things wrong in the city. Happy Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I'm wearing purple today because it's Purple Thursday. It's really hard to leave domestic violence situations when there's no place to go and your landlord can evict you for no reason. I don't care how many units a landlord owns. Landlord is not a real job, and they should not be able to evict people from their homes for no good reason. With that said, Melendez, please, I said this last month, we need good cause eviction, the strongest version, and that's it. Please just listen to your constituents. Please just listen to the people in this room. I'm begging. My other point is the PAB. The people fought for that 4 years ago. We're still fighting for it. We're fighting for you to just do the laws that you created. Follow what the PAB has to say. That's their job. That's why you designed them. I understand there's a lot of contingency when it comes to the police. I don't care if you're a blue line on the flag type person or you're the right kind of person, which is Black Lives Matter type person. I don't care. You wrote the law. Fucking follow it. It's that simple.
Excuse me. Please refrain from using.
I'm sorry, I said the F word once. I know I've swore more than that in this room before. But if I have to stay here all night like I have before, Melendez, I will. Because it's tiring to be back here every month saying the same thing, which is just listen to the people in this room who are asking you to take care of them because it is your job. That's what you get paid to do.
Your time is up.
I have had a very long day in the job that I do, taking care of people.
Your time is up.
A very long day taking care of other people.
Your time
It is your job to take care of other people. I don't care how tired you are. I'm tired. Give these people a good place to live. Thank you.
Lisa Tidings. Lisa Tidings. Sydney Mooney. Is Sydney Mooney here?
Members of City Council, I'm here this evening to speak on behalf of the staff, volunteers, and more importantly, the animals in care of Rochester Animal Services. As a public servant myself, I realize the importance of listening to the members of your community and acting on their suggestions and feedback. It seems that this is not what is happening with the animal shelter. Month after month, animals, staff, and volunteers are being failed at this establishment. Have you ever heard of a shelter that doesn't spay or neuter their pets? Because I have not. When you were elected to your position to serve on the council, the city residents were counting on you to listen to their concerns and provide proper solutions to their problems. This does not appear to be happening. When is this going to change? We need you, the council members, to advocate and ensure the budget of the city of Rochester is being spent appropriately. If you're not going to allocate the proper funds to the shelter, please do the right thing and partner with another shelter or agency that can take on the overwhelming amount of animals coming through the doors every day. Please consider this feedback from your community. So many lives, human and animal, are depending on it. Thank you.
Kevin Lockhart.
Sir, this is Speak to Council. We'd ask that you address the council.
A revolution
Cut
is
him off.
coming, and it will be peaceful. I will now outline the justification for the
So we will actually not allow the speaker to speak. We're not allowed to speak. If he's not going to address the council, we're not going to allow him to speak.
They don't allow you to have to force me out of here. Why don't they just? Why are they so afraid that I'm going to stay?
Sir, all we ask is that you speak and address the council. If you're not going to address the council, we're going to ask you to leave. All right. I think we're done with the speaker. We're done with the speaker. We're done with the speaker. We're done with the speaker.
Taxation and representation. We all pay a 4% county sales tax to access a. What do you want? Good cause. What do you want it now? What do you want it now?
Take a brief recess.
Justice for Ty! 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 Justice for Ty, you heard? Say her name! Say her motherfucking name, okay? Say her name! Justice for Ty! Justice for Ty! Justice for Ty!
Tonight boils down to two things. Absolutely not.
Because, like, if it ain't Kevin, then we can get these other folks in.
He needs to go. He needs to go.
If you have both the road and the water line going at the same time, it's just going to go in.
You're not here all screaming. So they're screaming, but I'm yelling during my speech. I'm interrupting. You're worried that I'm going to conceptualize the injustice that these people are facing tonight. We pay a 4% county sales tax for what? Access to the board of elections, access to local ballots, sheriff patrols, districts.
At this point,
You guys revealed your true colors again. Revealed your true colors again. That's right, get up. Don't say
resumed in just a moment. Thank you for your patience. Those who are still on the list, please remain. We will get to you tonight. Thank you.
Okay, we'll switch back to the other one now, the UMC again.
Yeah, you have to sit over there.
All right, we are just getting set up. We have, yes, please, everyone, let's take a deep breath. The Deputy Clerk is joining me in a moment, and then we'll get started again.
I'm sorry. Laquita Roundhart.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello, I am the mother of Taisha Manning. She was killed in the Maplewood shooting. I'm just pretty much just asking for answers from the police department. I'm also asking for answers from the, special victims for, what's her name? Aaliyah, I don't know the last name. Yeah, I'm asking for answers from her too. I'm also asking basically for justice for my baby. Like, I don't understand why we haven't been contacted by RPD. We haven't been contacted by any detectives. We haven't gotten any answers. We haven't gotten any phone calls. I've left several messages for the detectives. We haven't received half of her property. We only got jewelry. She's also missing a lot of things. We haven't received her phone. We just want answers, basically, for anything that's just going on with Taisha. I understand that the word Manning is a problem with the RPD, but it shouldn't be, because my uncle also served as a Rochester Police Department for over, 40-something years. I was born when he became RPD. I just basically want answers, and this shouldn't be happening to any families, not my family. 25 years old, worked for the Rochester City School District. She also worked for the Recreation Center. I've gotten plenty of love from everybody. I just want answers, and I pretty much just want justice for my baby. She's 25 years old. She shouldn't be. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Is Kelly Moretta here? Kelly Moretta.
Nothing is being
All right, we're going to give a moment to clear the room for a moment, and then we'll allow you 2 minutes to speak. Thank you. Ma'am, when you're ready.
Good evening, council members. My name is Kelly, and I'm here to support all of the employees and volunteers who have been trying to make a change at the Verona Street Shelter for a long time with absolutely no resolution. I would like to voice my concern at the conditions of the Verona Street Shelter. They are completely atrocious. No animal deserves to be sleeping in their own waste, waiting hours for water and to have to get their cages cleaned. This is not a reflection of the many wonderful people that work and volunteer there. This is a reflection of the lack of action taken by the mayor and the city of Rochester. Perhaps some of you have seen the pictures which you have tonight circulating on social media. They are disturbing to say the least. If dog owners kept their dogs in these types of conditions, it would be considered animal abuse. Why is the city allowed to get away with it? There are numerous people willing to step up and volunteer in the shelter, and they have to jump through hoops to do so. Anyone can walk in off the street to adopt an animal with no background check. And yet, if you want to go to the shelter to scoop poop, you need a background check. Make that make sense. The city continuously avoids the topic of building a big enough shelter to accommodate the growing number of abandoned and homeless animals. Allowing dogs to continuously be adopted without being spayed or neutered is the very reason for the overcrowding. It doesn't take a genius to figure that out. In today's economy, many people are struggling. They can easily walk into the shelter, get a free or low-cost dog, and breed and sell puppies. Once those puppies are full grown, people no longer want them, and they're dumped all over the city. I personally have had an issue with my neighbor doing the same. I just closed my licensed daycare after 18 years because he was getting these free dogs. They were jumping out of the second-story window, fighting to the death.
Your time is up.
It's appalling.
Albert Algarin. Albert Algarin.
All right, we have reached the end of our Speak to Council session. Thank you for all who are attended. Our next council meeting will be Tuesday, October 22nd at 6 p.m. here in these chambers. Have a good night.